Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
No, I'm Ted.
And today we're going to do another What to Work On, and today we're going to be discussing plot points and hooks.
So, speaking of hooks and plot points, if you got a plot problem and you want to submit a GM 911, best place to do that is over on the forum under the GM 911 section or at nerdarchy@gmail.com.
So the idea is basically having a bunch of plot points and adventure hooks that you can just kind of pull out at any time to see what your players want to bite on, right?
Indeed.
Even like the Michael Shea, hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right, talks about doing this in the Lazy Dungeon Master of having like 3 different ideas that you kind of throw out there and you just kind of see what the players are going to do with them, where they're not full flushed out adventures, because as we know as GMs, like, you can put things out there and the players will go in a totally different direction. So here's what you would do, right? You would take like an index card, or you can do it electronically, whatever you want to do. So you might put down the title of your plot point or your adventure hook. It could be peasant spots a dragon flying over the mountain to the south, the mountain range sign to the south. So then you might, as the GM, you might write down 3 things under that plot point, and it might be the mountains to the south are inhabited by orcs that are fighting with goblins. Right. That might be one other thing. You might put there is a precious metal deposit located within that mountain range. And then for one final thing, you might put there is no dragon lair in that mountain. Right? So you have your event. So your adventurers may decide like they want to go investigate the dragon, and what they're going to learn is there is not actually a dragon, but there's other things going on.
Right.
So like that might be one plot point that's out there. Another one might be a mysterious stranger has recently moved into your town, and that would be it, right? The mysterious stranger has moved into your town. And then under that, you would make a couple notes, right? And it might be like, okay, well, what's he doing in town? He's actually organizing the crime and taking over the gangs in the town. It is one of the things. Another one might be he's an outlaw from another town.
So now, are these things, are they all things that are related, or are they all things that are possibles that you can do?
They could or could not be related. You don't have to worry about that, right? Because you can make them related later if you wanted to, mm-hmm. Or they could have nothing to do with each other.
Because I was going to say, like, what happens if he's looking for heroes? So it would be hard to say, well, he's looking for heroes if he's a criminal and he's part of this organization.
Well, exactly, but you might do, but you might do a separate one plot point where that it could be that same guy who is looking for heroes for a different reason. Like, he might have other things going on, he could be underneath of that. He part of that one.
He could have nefarious, doings, but he wants to hire somebody to go get something that his men aren't strong enough to get, and why should he risk his own hide?
And you could literally take this hook and you could lead back the other one, the orcs and goblins are warring with each other because this guy started it up. If you wanted to connect them, and that's just an example. Or it could be he's the dragon. You know what I mean? If you wanted to tie these things together, but they don't. They could have nothing to do with each other. Right. Now you might put, and again, you see how much time it actually takes for you to put these ideas together. We haven't discussed anything.
Yeah,
we're just throwing them right now.
Spitballing.
You might do something like the mayor of the city has a secret. the mayor of the city is the hero of the town. Okay, the mayor of the city is actually a villain. Then you could come up with something else or whatever, and you could just put it out there. Another good thing is like a rumor mill. Like, you might just come up with a list of rumors, and some of them are going to be your adventure hooks,
right, that
your players can just hear about in the tavern, or when they're just dealing with people in the marketplace and merchants.
These type of adventure hooks are things that they could be single adventures, or single session adventures, or multi-session adventures, that if you have just the inkling of an idea to work with, you'll understand that your players are going to pick up on certain things, and sometimes they'll bite and sometimes they won't. Well, if they always bite with a particular type of hook, my players are seriously into finding money, or they seriously want treasure of some kind. Well, the lure of treasure, even if the end part of the hook, they don't get treasure, they still might go on that adventure. And and
here's the thing too, like, because you've come up with like these three hooks that or these plot points that you've put out there, in the beginning of your campaign, they may get used or they may not, but each one of them informs you of something,
right?
And several somethings, but there's something else that's not even written that's kind of is kind of informed as well. Like, the dragon sighting. Well, if the players are going to do anything with that, it's in the mountains range to the south. If they're going to do something with the mayor, there's a good possibility that might be a visit to the mayor's mansion. Mm. This mysterious stranger. Where has he taken up residence? Has he moved into the abandoned manor or mansion on the hill? So what it's also done is it's created adventure areas for you now. And do you have to like map out everything? No, but so you might now come up with another index card for each one of those areas, just with some notes on it. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, the mountain range, we already know there's goblins and there's orcs, mm-hmm. and there might be a dragon.
Right.
Depending on which direction we go with that.
Now, the way that this can come into view, or come into question, is when you're playing your game, especially if you've got a story arc where you have open segments. Dave and I are both writing campaigns that are happening simultaneously, for lack of a better word, and I to my knowledge, we've both written long protracted story arcs with holes in the middle that can be filled in later, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, for instance, right, it was a little more freeform with my campaign up until level 4th or 5th, mm-hmm. and then from 4th or 5th I introduced a story arc, mm-hmm. that the players felt invested with and want to do something about. And here, that's the key too, right? If they didn't care about it, then I shouldn't either. And I would have to move on and find something else. But my idea is, I want this to culminate and for them to complete this thing they've started, but not until like level 20 when the campaign ends.
Right. And I kind of have the same situation, but I introduced essentially what I consider the end villain really in those first 3 levels. But I didn't introduce the villain as a, hi, here I am. It's a
concept or an idea.
Yeah, concept or an idea. And it took a while for them to really figure out, who's pulling the strings, so to speak. And there's still a lot of mystery involved in what's going on that's going to happen in the next several sessions, I believe. But we both left these holes. Well, Dave did something where he put out, here's this thing. You don't have time right now because you're on a time crunch, but here's this thing you can come back to later. He didn't do anything more than mention, there's ruins down below. Well,
an interesting thing. There's an interesting thing.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing here, and half the party, by the way, is probably want to go take a look to see what's there. Okay. All right, so we write down this information. So while you have a plot going on, there isn't a problem with you saying, hey, look at this over here. All right, we'll get back to that later, if you want.
And that over here really can just be like a sentence.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't have to flush that out. Like that could be an adventure hook or a plot point for you to put in on an index in the index box, and you can just keep develop them over and over again and put them. You don't put a lot of work into them. You're not invested in these that you feel you absolutely must use them. But if you're building a world and you're going to play more than one campaign in this world, they're still there. Right. Like you could go back to them and use them with a different group if the other one doesn't sort it out, or
right.
It can even change. Like
right.
You could use it again if it comes up.
Right, and with that plot point, you just threw it out there, and if we would have said, all right, well, let's bite. Okay, well, we'll go into that next session. All right, and end it early, end it there, and if you can't make up a dungeon, or you can't come up with all the things that they want to bite on right now, then you can develop that in between the sessions. If you want to keep the campaign flowing, and they say, okay, well, all right, I want to remember that ruins. Well, that tells the DM, all right, that was something that they bit on. You just write ruins, ruins below the kobolds, or interesting point that players bit on. Write down what you need to on one card, put it aside, and in between the sessions, come up with more details about that. Just those three bullet points until it's time to actually come back to that, so that you've got as much information as you need on it.
Well, and the other thing too, part of the trick is knowing when to introduce these plot points, so that if your players do decide to bite on it and you're not a GM that's willing to run on the fly, that you've given yourself wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a GM that's not good at running on the fly, then what you're going to want to do is you would want to introduce that at the end of your session, not at the beginning,
right?
When it's going to trip you up, and ultimately you have the power to do that. Because otherwise, then you're going to have to figure out ways to avoid that for now. Which again, if you're not a GM that's good at thinking on your feet, you're probably going to have the same problem.
Well, and I'll put this out there: if you are a GM who's not good at thinking on your feet, then it's always good to have in-game or in-between session conversations with your players. Hey guys, what are you looking to do tonight? Or what are you looking to do next session? So that you have time to be able to build, potential stories for, okay, well, he wants to go there, he wants to go there. All right, well, they're going to have to figure this out. We can't do both. All right, group chat. Where do you guys see yourself going?
And again, like if you say, like the ruins, for instance, if you knew that was going to be something you were going to introduce, and you would have wrote a couple things down on that card, like that were important that for you to know, like infest it with aberrations. Originally constructed as a dwarven stronghold. And maybe you come up with something like from the age of X, so like you have some things that are already from your campaign that are like informed, on. So like even if you did have to run it on the fly, you already have some ideas, right? And again, like if you're like keeping, if you just keep some random dungeon maps on you could actually just pull one of them out and be like, oh, okay, well, if they're going into ruins, here it is. There's plenty of them online for you to download.
Right, absolutely.
So literally this could actually be like, oh, give me 5 minutes, guys, and we'll finish with it. We'll get back to this, right? If you know what type of monsters are going to be in there, then you've got that covered. You're just going to pull some aberrations.
Okay, aberrations. All right, well, we got, depending upon the power level, you want chools or do you want beholders?
Carrion crawlers or whatever, yeah. Or, and you know that the dungeon dressings are going to be based off an ancient civilization of dwarves.
Right.
So everything's going to be old, probably, you're going to go one of two ways of like, the dwarves were so good at building stuff, the stuff still looks good, or, everything's decrepit because it's so very old.
Right.
Yeah, so it kind of gives you some ideas, and like while you're going, you might be like, oh man, like you might have to figure out on the fly, like why is this place full of aberrations? But we might know like it's full of there's no dwarves here because of the aberrations, which could inform us on maybe in the in the lowest area, region, part of the dungeon, whatever you want to call it, there's a portal that leads to the far realm.
Right.
And that's where they all come from. So, like, an objective for this adventure would be like shutting that portal.
Right.
But but if you have this stack of index cards with these
plot points.
These plot points on them, you can just pull them out, and it'll cause you to have to think on your feet less. And if you have all these plot points in these index cards, you might go, oh well, here are some of the things that I'm going to want to keep in my DM folder, and they might might just be like maps you've downloaded from the internet.
Right.
Yeah, so these are all things you can do to help make your game run a little smoother, and things that you can work on when you're not sure what to work on.
Indeed. So what do you guys think? Is this something that you work on or not? Put your thoughts and comments down below. While you're at it, like, share, even subscribe.
To support us on Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.